So what about Midianites? What do you think about the people that just say, you know what, I'm just going to completely separate myself from all society, and your laws don't have to be my laws. I get to do whatever I want.
Yeah. So from my shirt, I'm a Anarcho-Christian. So I believe that there's no king but Christ. I believe in anarchy, but the whole we anarchists tend to say voluntarist. We believe in voluntary exchange of ideas. And you exist in that in the world that I want every day. You go into a restaurant, you say, I would like a cheeseburger, please. And they go, I would like $5 from you. And you go, I want that cheeseburger over that $5. And they go, okay, here's your cheeseburger. Thank you for the $5. And you go on your way. There's no violence made. You've agreed. You wanted the cheeseburger more than the $5. There's your basic econ class right there. And you've engaged no violence. And so can you do that with things like the justice system? Can you do that with, personal protection? Yes, I think that's entirely possible. And again, there's nothing within Scripture that I see that says you must form a government. It must have the monopoly use of force. It must be able to grow too big, and there must be no checks and balances on it. Because in 1 Samuel 8, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to Yahweh, and the Yahweh said to Samuel, obey the voice of the people and all that they say to you. For they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me for being king over them, according to all deeds that they have done from the day I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. So they are also doing to you. Now then, obey their voice. So Samuel told all the words that of Yahweh to the people, asking them for a king. He said, these will be the ways that the king who will reign over you, he will take your sons and appoint them to his chariots and to be his horsemen, to run before his chariots. He will bring them to war. And he will appoint for himself commanders and thousands of commanders of 50s, and some to himself commanders, to plow his grounds and reap his harvest, to make his implements of war and equipment of chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive orchards to give them to his servants. He will take the tenth of your grain to your vineyards. He will give it to his officers and his servants. He will take your male servants and your female servants and the best of your young men and your donkeys and put them to work. He will take the tenth of your flock, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourselves, but Yahweh will not answer you in that day. So what did they do? They wanted a king, and they wanted to be like others, but God said, I'm here. I'm able to be your king in the midst, and you're able to voluntarily be part of my kingdom, and you can leave if you want to. Now, obviously, the true believers would never want to do that. I want to be subject to God. I want God to be my dictator because he's perfect. Until you find me that perfect man, I'm not going to let that person be my dictator. So can we exist in a society that is separate apart from a monopoly use of violence and do it completely on a voluntary based system? I think that's entirely possible. And there are many, many good Christians and believers out there that want to start those types of societies. And when my belief in that comes in conflict with things like a police state or things like overtaxation or just taxation in general. I mean, if I were to say, hey, the mobs come in and I own a gas station and I have to pay them $1,000 to be in business or things might happen. Well, we would go, well, that's just mob rule. That's wrong. But when people who say, well, I wrote on this napkin that I own you and that you have certain rights and you can file for grievances you want, but I still want my $1,000. Oh, well, that's a government. So Romans 13. No, we don't have to engage in violence. And I think that's better for society as a whole. Yeah. I think that's more scripturally based. And it takes you to be trusted in the exercise of your freedom. And if that's not going to happen with you properly exercising your freedom, then we don't need you. And so we can evict you from our society. And we don't have to engage in violence to do that unless you aggress upon us. And that's always been the case. It's always been a defensive posture against evil is something that you can take a defensive action against. And that's essentially what the non-aggression principle is for those that want to look that up. And there are great thinkers out there. Like I said, I had Bob Murphy on. He's written extensively on not aggression principle. He's an anarchist as well. He's a Christian as well. So there are people out there who have been thinking these things, and it's completely able to. And it's not this pie in the sky thing. I don't want violence done to you. Whatever you want to do with your own body is your own choice. But just don't include me in it or the people that I love. So if you want to do drugs, I don't want you to do drugs. But if you want to, then that's completely up to you.
Right.
What's the state's current role? Well, I don't like that you're doing that. Men with guns, go stick that person in a cage.
Right.
That seems pretty immoral too.
Mm-hmm.
And people who rape women, I want them put to death. Mm-hmm. I don't want them. Well, 10 years, good enough. Go on your way. 6 for good behavior. Oh, prison's overcrowding because we have drug offenders in there, nonviolent drug offenders. 4 years. I'm sure. Promise you won't do it again. All right.
Right. Exactly.
No. Let's follow parts of the God's law that says, if you steal something from someone, you got to pay double. Hey, that seems like a great counterweight. Then, well, I had my TV stolen. They arrested him. They put him in a cage. He's not doing anything other than being with other violent people, and I still am not without TV.
You still don't have your TV, yeah.
Where's justice being served?
It doesn't pay you back. Yeah, exactly. That's a real issue. I think really my next question for you, it's actually the last question I have, really leads perfectly into that. What about theocracy?
I would say as long as it's voluntarily done. So if I'm in Calvin's society and he says, you must baptize your babies, can I leave? If I can't leave, I'm kidnapped, and it's illegal for him to have done that. Now, if I've agreed to it, hey, I'm part of this club. I've paid my membership due. I get all the benefits of membership. I'm protected by these strong people that if my TV gets stolen, I don't have to. I get to submit to my government authorities. Hey, people that I pay who are built way bigger than I am, he took my TV. Can you go get it for me? We can absolutely go get it. Hey, I will submit and I will pay my tax, my membership due. They will go and they will come back and get it. Great. And if it's under God's law, even better, because you're going to see that's what the states originally were meant. It's supposed to be experiment here, experiment here. Should we have public education? Should we have homeschool? What about Pell Grants? What about all these things? That's what the states were supposed to be. It was supposed to be like an experimentation. It wasn't supposed to be, well, we're 50 things and we just submit to the federal government because they're big, right? And they control the military, so that's good. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. And so if you're in voluntary action and you've agreed to those terms and agreements, if you read the terms and agreement and signed it, then yeah, you're subject to it. And so theocracy, again, let's have experimentation. Let's do it voluntarily. The Mennonites can do theirs. The Lutherans can do theirs, and let's see. Let's figure out. It's how we even do theology now. Let's take it to the debate room and let's have James White debate a Mormon and see if maybe Mormonism true. Hey, it's possible. Let's figure it out. Okay, well, it seems to fail, so I'll continue following Reformed teachers that way.
Right. So yeah.
If it's done voluntarily, because it's the reverse of Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager says there's a chance that there is a God and there's a chance that there isn't a God. If you believe that there isn't a God and there is, man, you're in trouble. So it's probably best to believe in God, because even if you're wrong, hey, you lived a good life. What have you really missed out? But no, here's the take on that, which is just if we can do it, without having violence being done, then we're able to figure out which system really is the best. And if it's all under the authority of Christ, then we're able to voluntarily exchange those ideas. And that's where you want it. You don't want, you can't force anybody into the kingdom by a point of a gun. The Inquisition was there to say, oh, repent. Oh, well, my thumbs are in screws and I've lost my tongue. All right, I repent. All right, we'll let you go. And guess what? You probably weren't a Christian then.
Right, exactly. You can't force Christianity on people. That makes so much sense. So if it's an open system, that makes okay.